From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And Wally, a lot to get into, as always, when it comes to sports, a.k.a. the toy department. But let's start with something that Minnesota doesn't have yet, legalized sports betting. Now, the North Star State has a ton of casinos, as we know.
Yes.
But sports betting, some of the border states have it. Iowa, Wisconsin
has it,
I think the Dakotas may have it. Minnesota's on an island in the upper Midwest. Should that change? Will it change?
Boy, great questions. But there's, a lot to it. And we saw just over a week ago, the XL Energy Center got renamed, and the sponsor, lo and behold, it's a casino. It's going to be Grand Casino Arena over at the X. The XX is now Grand Casino Arena as of September. But I guess where I'm going with this is, sports and gambling they've created a marriage, and it's an interesting marriage because, look, you got all kinds of issues that could follow with this. Right on the field type of issues, or on the court in this case, Malik Beasley, the former Minnesota Timberwolf, being investigated, being tied to some kind of a gambling scheme. Same with Cleveland pitcher Luis Ortiz. And these are recent. These are just in the last few weeks. Go back last year, Shohei Ohtani. It turns out that his handler stole X amount of dollars, several $1 million, and somehow Shohei was not implicated in this entire scheme. So there are plenty of pitfalls here if you go down this road, and that's just on the field. Now, let's talk about, the average fan. Is he going to be able to bet on his phone? Is that something that we want? Sure, we want the tax dollars, but do you want everything else that goes with it? And I'm not so sure that we do.
Yeah, I used to think, hey, it's a slam dunk. Get it over with. Legalize it. And Minnesota can join, a lot of other states in the U.S. Look, if you want to bet right now in the state of Minnesota on a sporting event, you can do it. It's just not technically legal. But I think the athletes and the coaches are so well compensated, you'd have to be incredibly foolish to get involved in a gambling scandal. But you just named some names, and I believe there's going to be a major gambling scandal at some point in sports because of all these leagues being in bed with casinos. And
what about college kids?
Same thing.
With the NIL, all the money that's being thrown around now in college.
And also, what about people on the fringe? A clubhouse attendant, a ball boy, right. Maybe somebody even in the media who gets some inside intel and is able to parlay that into winning a big bet and cashing a huge check. The temptation, I think, is great for those who don't make the kind of money, at least the professional athletes do. That's why I think, if you're a pro athlete, you don't have really – the minimum salary in most of these leagues is like $700,000 to $1 million. Why touch it? Yeah. Why risk it? But if you're down there sweeping up the clubhouse floor and you happen to overhear a manager say, I'm only going to pitch this guy 2 innings because his arm's sore, and you make that prop bet that he's going to go under 2, you can make some money.
Yeah, well, and that's the danger here. There's so much beyond just, hey, let's grab those tax dollars and we can add to Gamblers Anonymous so that, we're not hurting anybody. And there's just way too much to this that I think, and I'm with you. I thought for a long time, what's it going to hurt? For somebody like you or I, if you throw $10 into at the beginning of the football season and you say, hey, I think that the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl, and you got 30-1 odds. Hey, I can make $300 by just putting $10 on the Vikings. Well, that's one thing. But there are people who are going to bet away their livelihoods that are going to create more problems than this thing solves. And I'm with you. As much as I don't think that it's a horrible idea insofar as tax dollars and getting this thing under some government watch over instead of all of our bettors going to Wisconsin or Iowa or wherever, not the worst thing in the world, but I just happen to think that I've crossed that line with you, and I hate to say it that I agree with you on this.
I agree with you on.
It's a sad day.
Yeah,
it really is
in 10K takes land that we agree. And I do want to say this, these prop bets put a lot of pressure and sometimes threats on athletes
Great
and coaches. J.B. Bickerstaff, who was with Cleveland, now with Detroit in the NBA, I saw something a year ago that if the Cavaliers at the time didn't cover the spread, he'd get threatened, and he's just trying to coach a basketball game and win it. Lance McCullers of the Houston Astros dealt with some very serious threats that didn't come from the U.S. They came from somewhere else on the globe. So it can get real ugly, but I suspect at some point it's coming to Minnesota. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, very true. All right, we're going to talk some baseball next. The MLB All-Star Game coming up, and our friend Bob Nightengale from USA Today is going to join us.
All right, we are 10K Takes, your gambling ticket.
Want to bet?
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
With the heat of summer comes the fun of summer festivals across the state of Minnesota, and there's none better than Panaprog in Lakeville, running July 4th through the 13th. Lakeville has been celebrating Panaprog since 1967, and this year's festival has another great lineup of events, including the Classic Car Cruise Night in downtown Lakeville on Friday, July 11th. You'll also want to check out all the great live outdoor music and, of course, the Panaprog Carnival and Midway that's second to none. For more info on this year's events, go to panaprog.org. This message brought to you by Visit Lakeville.
What's up, buddy? Left-hand side. Hey!
I've seen some tough flies before.
Batia. Look at the shot. Look at the shot. Yes! Coacher!
Straight up in the air.
The reaction. Get out of here, Sally. How sweet it is. There it is. The drought is over. I'm gonna fuck you.
We are Minnesota Scores 10,000 Takes, and we are also very close to Major League Baseball's All-Star break. This typically is the time of year when nothing else is going on. Now, obviously, we still have the WNBA, but basically, when baseball takes its All-Star break, man, all bets are off. It's the All-Star game and nothing. And joining us now to talk about such things, MLB, the All-Star game, and so on, is Bob Nightengale. He is a columnist for USA Today, Major League Baseball columnist. Bob, let's start out with the All-Star game since I brought it up. Do you think the players, and you yourself as a longtime beat writer, get excited about the All-Star game still, or is that passé at this juncture in time?
It's almost passé. I mean, it used to be where the players actually cared about winning. Now they really don't care. I mean, there's a little money difference, but it's almost like a get-together, a hug fest. I still remember Bob Gibson wouldn't even want to know his own players in the clubhouse because he was, let alone the players on the others in the American League, just because he wanted to be mad at them. And so this is different now. It's like a hug fest. Everybody's having fun, and it's really been, dominated by pitching the last 5-6 years now.
Bob, in your opinion, from the national perspective, what does it mean for Byron Buxton of the Minnesota Twins to be an All-Star? We know the injury narrative, it's real, but this year it's gone away, and hopefully for the whole season. But he's in the All-Star game, second time in, I believe, 4 years. Buck has a lot of baseball ahead of him. This might not be his last one.
No, he's still young enough to have more, and obviously the very talented guy. He should be an All-Star every year as long as he's healthy. He just hasn't been healthy. So it sounds like, with his son, he can't wait for the home run derby and doing that. So it's a fun thing for the players, and particularly for him being from Atlanta. Be very, very special.
There's always teeth gnashing over players that quote unquote get snubbed and don't get the invite to the All-Star game. Here in the Twin Cities, it was about Johan Duran and Joe Ryan. You want to address both of those and give your thoughts on each of those players? Because Joe Ryan had a pretty good first half, but there's so many pitchers that are already on there. I think it's tough for a starting pitcher to make it unless you're, Tarek Skubal these days.
Yeah, I mean, really tough for a reliever. But yeah, I mean, he's just one of many that's got snubbed. Now, I'll tell you, there'll be at least 5 or 6 pitchers added onto this thing. So let's see what happens here. We got Framber Valdez from Houston Astros, unbelievable season. He's not on it. The 2 guys from Philadelphia, Christopher Sanchez isn't on it. Ranger Suarez isn't on it. So, welcome to the club. And remember now, these are the players who voted. It wasn't not the fans. The fans did the starting lineups. So if you want to blame snubs, don't blame anybody else but the fans. But the players. The players are the ones who chose those guys.
I was in SoCal last weekend at Dodger Stadium. I saw Framber Valdez knock off the Dodgers. The Astros swept Los Angeles. They're the hottest team going into the break. Did you see this coming? I mean, the Houston Astros, I always say you can never count them out, but I think they're exceeding expectations, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Well, when they traded away, Kyle Tucker said, okay, what are they doing? Alex Bregman, okay, it's a rebuilding season. And look at them. They have as good chance as anybody to get to the World Series this year. They've let a lot of guys walk, whether it's, Carlos Correa, Bregman, Verlander, Garrett Cole, and on and on. And they keep on winning. I love the ownership there. Jim Crane says, we'll never rebuild as long as I own the club. And he just puts the payroll right up to the luxury tax and says, let's go get them. And every year, they built a dynasty there. Since 2016, 2017, you're talking about 4 World Series appearances, 2 World Series titles in the playoffs every single year.
I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. The Detroit Tigers are going to win the AL Central this year. They have the biggest lead of anybody in baseball. Let me ask you this. Are they, in your mind, the best team in baseball, or at least the best team in the American League, or do they just have the best record right now?
I think certainly the best team in the American League, no doubt about it. They don't have to be 500 in the second half. They got this thing, walking away. Hey, but, they're going to be very dangerous in the postseason when you're talking about having Tarek Skubal as your number 1 guy. Casey Mize is right below him as your number 2 guy. You got Reese Olson, you got Jack Flaherty. They got a chance to go very, very deep in October.
Bob, what's going on with the New York Yankees? And on the flip side, the resurgence, if you will, of the Toronto Blue Jays, who suddenly are on top of the AL East. I mean, their payroll's always sky high as well, but are the Yankees going to recover?
They should. I think they'll be aggressive at the deadline, too. It'll be very embarrassing for them not to make the playoffs. You can't waste a good year like Aaron Judge is having once again. They are going to move Jazz Chisholm back to second base. That will help the defense. But, they need their starter, and certainly they need a third baseman. They're going to be all over the map trying to get a third baseman there. Whether it's a Eugenio Suarez, whether it's a Ryan McMahon, someone's got to play third base for them. And, I think they'll pay whatever it takes to get the guy before July 31st.
What about Nolan Arenado in St. Louis? Before the season, the rumors, the speculation was he was going to be dealt by the Cardinals. I know a lot of teams would love Arenado.
Yeah, but, he just hasn't had the year that they, everybody kind of envisioned. They think he's, okay at third base, but he's dropped off some. I don't think the Yankees are in on Arenado. I think they kind of question whether, he could handle the pressure in New York. New York's a tough place to play. So I think the Cardinals definitely want to move him. He turned out 2 spots. He could have gone to Houston, should have gone there, and could have gone to Anaheim, and he didn't want to go there because, they don't win. But I'm sure if you ask him right now, he should have gone to Houston. When they traded Tucker, I don't think he saw the fact they're doing what they're doing.
Our friend Charlie Walters, your cohort in the MLB scribe business, the Pioneer Press in St. Paul, had told us that there is a deal on the table for the Pohlads to look at in the sale of the Minnesota Twins. Have you heard anything about it? And and is there anything that you know that you can add to that about a sale for the Minnesota Twins? Because we've been sitting around waiting now. It's been about 8 or 9 months since they announced that they were going to sell.
Yeah, I know one of the prospective buyers, and that group is offered 1.5. It's been rejected by the Pohlads. They want 1.7. Now they insist the Twins are over $400 million in debt. That's hard to believe, but that's what the books show. So I think people are a little skittish. I still think it's a semi-gold mine. You got one of the top, 2 or 3 ballparks in America. You're right downtown. So and it's great fan base, as you guys know. So I'm surprised they're that far in debt.
Yeah, and you think about it, Bob, whoever the new owner is going to be, if they come in and maybe they lower the price of Pepsi by $3 and they say they're going to be aggressive pursuing a free agent, they're going to become rock stars.
Oh, they are. And that's what I've said, too, is like people can't wait for the Polas to sell. Just like in Cleveland, they can't wait to sell, Rockies, on and on, that Washington Nationals. So usually when the new ownership comes in, they want to spend money, be friends with the fans, just like in the Anaheim. When Artie Moreno bought the team and lowered the beer prices, he could run for governor. They were so excited there. So, yeah, I agree. They'll be very excited to have new ownership.
All right. On the subject of buying or selling, when your team is up for sale, like the Minnesota Twins are, and your team isn't necessarily, well, they're not in the race for the Central. Nobody is. That's Detroit's, and we've decided that. Do you see them just standing pat, or do you see the Twins perhaps trading away Correa if somebody would take him, or whoever it might be, a pitcher?
I can see some pitching, particularly, bullpen type pieces. Let's face it, it's almost like if you're talking to a prospective owner, you got to get their approval too. You sure you want to do this? Correa's not going to get moved. No one's going to touch that contract. So he's there, and he's got no trade clause anyway. He talks about that he doesn't want to leave. So I would think they make some minor moves on the pitching front, but nothing major.
Bob, the Pittsburgh Pirates are in the Twin Cities this weekend. They're already behind the Steelers when it comes to attention. I mean, Steelers mini camp is generating more interest. And some of that's on their ownership, in my opinion. Is this the last time we're going to see Paul Skeens in Minneapolis wearing the black and gold of the Pirates?
No, he's under team control for another, 4.5 years. So I think we're going to see him for another 4.5 years there. You cannot trade a guy like that. Just a generational talent, unbelievable guy. He's the type of guy that, was at the Air Force Games for 2 years. Then when he left, he said, I still want to serve the Air Force. I want to serve the military when I'm done playing. And he's serious about that. So spectacular guy. So no, you cannot trade him. I don't care what you get back. And you'll have the fan base go ballistic. They may burn down the stadium before you can let Paul Skeens get traded.
Don't do that. That's a good ballpark.
Yeah, we like that ballpark.
so he's back in Minnesota in 2 years then again. All right.
Fair enough. Well, Bob, enjoy the All-Star break. I know you work up to the All-Star game at least, but enjoy the game as much as you possibly can, and we'll certainly talk to you again down the road.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Wally. Thanks, Eric.
See you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. He is Bob Nightengale, Major League Baseball columnist for USA Today, right here on 10,000 Takes. Stay with us. More to come after this timeout.
What's up, buddy? Left-hand side.
I've seen some tough lies before.
Batia. With a shot. Look at the shot. Yes! Coacher!
Straight up in the air.
The reaction. Get out of here, Sally. How sweet it is. There it is. The drought is over.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. Maya? Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
With the heat of summer comes the fun of summer festivals across the state of Minnesota, and there's none better than Panaprog in Lakeville, running July 4th through the 13th. Lakeville has been celebrating Panaprog since 1967, and this year's festival has another great lineup of events, including the Classic Car Cruise Night in downtown Lakeville on Friday, July 11th. You'll also want to check out all the great live outdoor music and, of course, the Panaprog Carnival in Midway that's second to none. For more info on this year's events, go to panaprog.org Energy. This message brought to you by Visit Lakeville.
Welcome back. We are at the, I guess it's the mythical halfway point of Major League Baseball season with the All-Star break coming up. Let's take a look at the Twins here in this first half of the season. What are your thoughts on biggest disappointment so far? And maybe it's just the team in general, because I think that certainly is a potential candidate. But what about biggest disappointment? And then maybe the most pleasant surprise here in the first half of the season. Give me your thoughts.
I just think the thing that's been the big letdown has been the inconsistency of this team. I mean, you have a 13-game winning streak in the first half of the season. No other major league team has ripped off that many wins in a row this year, and yet this ball club is struggling to get to 500.
Right.
So they've been a roller coaster. And, you know, the bullpen and the pitching was so good during the streak, and then where did that go?
Well,
that all went away. I know Pablo Lopez
injury
is
list.
out, but, boy, there's a lot of other teams with injuries. Houston has a ton of them, the LA Dodgers, and those are just two examples. So, to me, that's the biggest disappointment, along with ownership being persona non grata. Who owns this team? The Pohlads aren't even saying anything, so you know they're not really putting anything extra into the ball club. They want to sell it.
All right. Individual-wise, I'd say the two biggest disappointments, certainly Carlos Correa at the plate for most of the months of April and May. Griffin Jack's out of the bullpen. Just kind of shaky, if you ask me. He has given up more leads, I think, than he gave up all of last year. And then from my perspective on the positive side, certainly Joe Ryan has been great. And Harrison Bader. I mean, those to me are the two positives that I kind of didn't really expect. I know Joe Ryan's very good, but Joe Ryan's having more than a very good season. He's having an excellent year so far.
No question. And certainly a huge positive. It's the obvious one because he's their all-star is Byron Buxton. But I want to salute, the Twins for sticking with Buxton. There have been a lot of rumors swirling over the years they should peddle him. They've never done that.
They never gave up.
They've stood by their man, and Buxton has persevered. You know this had to be painful to every offseason go home back to Georgia and realize, man, I missed another lost year as far as games played. Well, this year that's not the case. I hope he has a healthy second half, and like we said with Bob Nightengale, if he stays on the field, this won't be his last All-Star game. It's number 2. He could rip off 7 or 8 more in his career.
Yeah. And the big if, of course, if he stays on
But the longer he does, the less that becomes part of the narrative. Paul Molitor, early on in his career, was banged up a lot.
No, you're right.
And he wound up in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. All right. All-Star break is also coming up shortly for the WNBA. And your Minnesota Lynx have been basically the best team in the league this first half of the season. Don't ask the national media. They could care less about the Minnesota Lynx and Naphecia Collier, but they have been the WNBA's best team. Now, the stories in the WNBA, of course, Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, those two playing against each other. I mean, all kinds of stuff outside of Minnesota, but let's face it, this team is on a mission, and I think that they have a chip on their shoulder from getting hosed in that championship game 5 last year on that bad call that put the New York Liberty player at the line and they hit the free throws to win the game. I think that they have a chip on their shoulders to say, you know what, we're going to win it all this year.
I clearly agree with you on that one, too. I think the Lynx are fueled by lack of love from the national media. I mean, the love is here in the Twin Cities. They draw well, all that, but it's always about Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky, now Paige Beckers in Dallas, Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces. Well, the Minnesota Lynx, you don't hear Naphecia Collier's name come as much as it should, and hopefully from the Lynx perspective, they can get championship number 5 because right now the WNBA's never been more popular, and then maybe people will give them the love they deserve across the U.S.
Well, I know Cheryl Reeve wasn't happy they only got 2 players.
That's a good example.
On the All-Star team. All right, we've got more to come. It is our favorite part. Takes of the day coming up next. We are 10,000 Takes. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Wally and Eric from 10,000 Takes here in the land of lakes. And if you want sports of all sorts, check us out. We cover all the bases, all the teams in the great state of Minnesota.
Vikings, Twins, Wild, Gophers, Timberwolves, Loons, you name it, we do it. Late night Saturday night on Fox 9 Plus and on the Fox local app.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities, with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
10K Takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode. Big shout out to the viewers in the Twin Ports checking us out. And of course, here in the Twin Cities, we're huge up and down the I-35 corridor. And they're wondering what your mood is this week.
Well, as you know, or maybe you don't know, did you know, Major League Baseball games typically use about 100 baseballs per game. You see it every time there's a foul ball, every time the ball gets scuffed, they throw it out and they bring a new one in. Well, that's not the same case for youth baseball. What, each team provides a couple of baseballs? You might have 4 or 5, maybe a half dozen balls to use per game. Well, that's a problem down in Blooming Prairie, Minnesota. It's a town in southeastern Minnesota, about 2,000 folks, where their 14 and 15-year-old Metro League has an issue with a neighbor who doesn't want the baseballs on his lawn. As a matter of fact, he's keeping them. So every time a foul ball goes into this guy's yard, he scoops them up and keeps them. Parents aren't happy. As a matter of fact, one parent took video that went viral of this ongoing problem, ongoing incident, and there's been some back and forth, yelling at each other and so on and so forth. So he's scooping up approximately 10 balls per game and figure about $10 per baseball. Hey, youth leagues can't afford that. Fear not. The Minnesota Twins to the rescue. They heard about the controversy and they are offering to send down a bucket of baseballs down to Blooming Prairie. Good for the Minnesota Twins, bad for the baseball Scrooge living across the street from the park. By the way, who was there first, you or the park? Don't move across the street from a baseball field if you don't want balls in your yard.
Oh, boy. All right, Mood Meter says he's a cranky Yankee, but at least the Twins look good in this case.
They do.
Kudos to the Minnesota Twins. All right, well, my take of the day, I was on a recent flight from MSP to LAX, and I'm watching the Delta in-flight videos. I see an interview with the CEO of Delta, Ed Bastian, and the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, Arthur Blank, who's now 80, but he looks about 65. And he's also the guy that started Home Depot. And where I'm going with this is, I bang on the NFL owners a lot for a lot of reasons, but I came away liking Arthur Blank and his kind of his MO on how he runs Home Depot and the Falcons and Atlanta United. He does the reverse pyramid approach. He puts, the folks at the top of the corporate ladder at the bottom. It's all about the employees. He harped on that. It's all about giving back to Atlanta, the state of Georgia, creating a fun scene inside their home venue, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So I give props to Arthur Blank, who maybe isn't your typical NFL owner. He cares.
Wow. A billionaire that cares.
Yeah, good job, Arthur, and good job, Twins. We got to go. This is 10K Takes Your Sports Ticket.